This is a game in the Leopard 1 on Cliff. The Leo 1 is the Tier 10 German medium tank. Good gun, good accuracy, reasonably good DPM, no armor, it's fast. And what I really wanted to show was sort of how to play through this F2 west side of the cliff area, and so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go up through F2 and then light into this area first, and the goal that you want is you want to deny this area from anybody who comes down through this file line and then heads west on the east. So that's what we're going to look at. And this is an ideal composition to do it in because they don't really have anything that's that fast. They have a PTA, a T-54, and an Awful Panther. But we should be able to beat them all to the position, and we'll see what we can say. And so we didn't get lit going in, so we know none of their fast tanks went to the 1-2 line. And then you can sit in this bush here. This bush isn't really like that useful. But normally what you'll see is people will go up through that C5 area and you'll be able to light them there. If they head far enough to the north side of the road, there's enough brush cover there that you can't spot them necessarily, but you will usually catch people going up through here. And you'll see that we have a pretty typical dispersion. Most of our guys went up to this upper plateau area, and the rest of them, we've got a couple tank destroyers on the 1-2 line. Our artillery is all the way on that southeast side.
It's a trap!
And so we're lighting some of their slower heavies as we go up here. And then I know that I'm lit, and what you want to do if you get lit up here, you don't want to stay lit. You want to get your couple of shots in, and then you want to back off. You don't want to stay out there shooting at them. And what you do is you just go back and forth. You go into, you go over there when they're not expecting it. We control this area right now, so which I'll call the donut. And so all we have to do is just make sure that they don't get up there, and then we have an advantage because we can shoot into the sides and the rears of all these guys over here. And that's the sort of advantage of having this little piece of the map, is that you can basically make this area really uncomfortable for them to play. So we've sent a good number of our tanks over around to the side of the lighthouse, so that's something that we'll have to keep an eye on. We have 2 tanks over here on my side, just me and the Type 61, but that should be more than enough to hold this. And we know where about 2/3 of their team is now, and they're all mostly up here. We have our guys on the 1-2 line, the JPE and the T-30 haven't spotted anything yet. Doesn't mean that there's not anything there. Unfortunately, our Type 61 poked out a little bit too much, and he got killed by the Awful Panther. And I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't notice that. So I start driving over here because I want to help these guys because I'm not really getting any good shots from my position. I want to kind of peek over here into this middle to see how many guys are still here and how many guys went to go help out their team, because they know that we're pushing on the lighthouse, so sometimes these guys will leave and go and help protect. And it's about then that I noticed that we don't actually have anybody over here. They have a T-30 on the 1-2 line. So I'm going to go back here and see if I can get some shots on these guys, because see, as we're pushing around this lighthouse, these guys are going to back up. The guys that are defending the lighthouse side are going to back up, and also these guys will start heading out over there. So holding this position while you do that is really important, which is also the reason why, ideally they want to have this position, because if they have this position, then they'll be able to prevent us from shooting them in the back, essentially. So I got lit by that 7-1 going across, so I definitely want to drop spot, and then I want to push forward here. Our 5120 is sort of challenging their T-30, but that's the only thing that we've seen over there so far. Otherwise, as far as we know, most of their tanks are still on that other side. And so the 5120 has come up here as well, but he has to be careful. And then it's just a matter of seeing what these guys light over here. So I know that there's a T-30 down here and he's partially injured, so I decided that I'm going to try to push this side. And I noticed that they have an E4 over here, which is not entirely what I anticipated, but it's okay. And so I know I'm going to take a shot from this guy. There's a JT headed down through the other side, so I have to get over to the other side of a building someplace where I can be relatively safe. Our JPE now is finally pushing in. The T-30 is coming in behind him. This is something they could have done earlier, but they usually need people to push for them. And then for some reason there, I meant to fire and then move, but then I started moving and I forgot to fire. Don't ask. And then, so now I just have to wait or bait this guy into trying to shoot me. And if he's trying to aim at our guys, and I push forward, and as long as he's aiming at me, that means that, you know, our guys can get free shots on him. Then again, I have to wait for my light to drop, and then it's time to try to get out.
It's a trap!
And JPE is able to take out the JT, and I'm able to take out the Awful Panther. So again, try to drop spot, and then get out. And then I need to get back up here to help support these guys. And so we're still sort of on this lighthouse area, but we're not really doing anything. For some reason their IS-7 is driven up into the top of the lighthouse. Don't know why that is, but I'm sure that he can beat whatever's up there. And then so all I'm looking for is shots into this area right now over here. And just pretty much looking for other people to light things for me, and then I will be able to shoot them. Like this awesome IS-7 that's hiding up here. And so all really our 1390 has to do is light, and we should be able to shoot most of these guys. There's a 268. I know that JPE is over here someplace, so I'm going to try to take a peek and see if I can find him.
It's a trap!
I don't have a very good angle to shoot at his side there, so I drive forward to get a slightly better shot. And this really isn't that much better, but it does pen, so yay. And so I know the Centurion 7-1 is still up there, but now at this point it's kind of a moot point having guys up there. It's more of a liability than anything else. And that's pretty much the ball game. And so really what I wanted to highlight was sort of going up through this F2 area, which you can do with a lot of fast tanks. It's better if you have a little bit of depression, but like if you can take the Russian mediums over here, there's areas where you can haul down, and as they try to come west across this area, it's really effective to counter that, because you can basically shoot them on their way in, and it really discourages them from coming in. And there's no point at which they can sort of hide from you on the backside of this hill where they can't get shot from this side of the hill. So it's a good area to force them to drive into a flanking situation, and if they don't drive over here, if you do control this area, then you do control a lot of this upper plateau, and you can get shots into the backside here. You have to be careful of artillery and things like that, but as long as you're relatively crafty about it, you should be able to shoot into the back of that hill pretty easily. So that's pretty much what you should be looking for in that particular scenario. And then, so if you look at the stats, it looks pretty much as you would expect. We were able to do a lot of damage simply because we sort of maneuvered around that center area. We did push down into their base, sort of like mid-late game, and we did get a little bit lucky because we weren't really anticipating seeing the E4 right there, who was just camping for no apparent reason. But our team actually finally pushed in, which they should have done much earlier, but whatever. Sometimes they need some encouragement in order to actually be aggressive on one side, even though they see a lot of tanks on the other side. Otherwise, you know, it was pretty straightforward, and that's sort of what I wanted to show, was that you can be sort of aggressive in the early game in terms of taking up positioning, and if you can sort of acquire that territory that's of strategic importance, you know, then you sort of have an advantage. You know, they can try to take it back later. You know, they could have sent, you know, some of their mediums or the Awful Panther later, you know, particularly when that Type 61 died, to take that position back, and that would have made it a lot easier for them to not get flanked in the center area like that. But that's not what they did. And your goal should be, you know, once you have that area, you know, if they want to take it back, they, you know, they have to pay for it. And that's the whole sort of setup, and that's why you try to take those areas early, so that you can, you know, have those sorts of advantages. Anyhow, I hope that was helpful for playing Cliff, and thanks for watching.